Good morning. How are we all? Good. Well, look, thank you very much for listening and for being here this morning. I'm going to talk about what we've called future-proof connectivity, and that might be a bit strange for a satellite guy to be talking about future-proof connectivity because we've typically launched satellites for 15 years. It has historically been quite challenging to innovate in the satellite space. And the good news there is that that's all changing. And I think ourselves at SES, we're the largest satellite company in the world, but a number of others are really innovating a lot in the satellite space and integrating our services into terrestrial services in order ultimately to deliver exceptional experience for our customers. And that's really what I'm going to talk about this morning. And so first of all, and this will have been a theme in many of the talks and will be a theme in many of the talks going forward, this notion of insatiable demand, this insatiable demand on a global basis, and indeed insatiable demand here in the Asia-Pacific region. So by 2022, and all of this data comes from Cisco, by 2022, 172 exabytes per month. That's 1 billion gigabytes is an exabyte, so 172 billion gigabytes per month here in the Asia-Pacific region. It's sort of mind-boggling. 13 billion connected devices by 2022 as well. So this kind of enormous scaling of networks, enormous scaling of capability, enormous scaling of information and data, and how do we as a satellite operator be relevant in that world and in that environment? And it's something that kind of keeps us up at night in terms of how do we integrate. And so this is the reason, though, that we can be fantastically relevant here and in other parts of the world, which is despite all of that capability, despite all of that network, despite the terrestrial build-out, despite the submarine cables that are coming into the region here, there's still almost half the world's population are not connected to the internet, don't have the same access to the world's marketplace, the world's university and school in terms of education networks, the world's social networks. The difference between being connected and not being connected today more than ever is the difference between having opportunity and not having opportunity. And if we look here, despite the fact that these numbers in percentage terms are growing and improving, which is super positive, the Asia-Pacific region is the region that's the second worst connected on the planet after Africa. And so there's much, much to do. And until 7 billion people on the planet are connected, I think we will collectively feel like our work is not done. And so what have we been doing up till now? We've been working very, very hard with the communities here in the Asia-Pacific region, and particularly the Pacific Islands, which are among the most difficult to connect. French Polynesia, 118, I think it is, different islands. Obviously some more populated than others, but there what you need is a network of scale and a network of reach. And so when we drop fiber or satellite connectivity into single locations, you advance the population in that particular town or city, but you leave behind a significant number of the populations who either live remote from the capital city and in particular when you're talking about islands which are then further afield. So we've been working with OPT since 2007, and we've just engaged in another stage of that relationship where we'll be delivering even more bandwidth and capability onto the islands, but also services that we will bundle, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means from a satellite perspective. Our telecom in the Solomon Islands were one of our first O3B customers, and as Tim mentioned, I was the CEO of O3B. O3B is now fully integrated within our broader portfolio of offerings at SES, and our telecom on the Solomons was one customer who they were really suffering from the lack of high-quality connectivity into Honiara. We're now delivering more than 1 gigabit of connectivity into the Solomons. And it's not just a pipe anymore. This is services that surround it. This is an education network that together with our telecom, we've developed in terms of supporting it, financing it, and making a huge, huge difference to the population in the Solomon Islands. And it's very interesting for me to be here because O3B has now been up and operational for 5 years. The Pacific was one of the anchor regions for O3B. And so to speak with some of our customers who have been with us for that 5 years has been interesting. And this is a short video that will show you what's happened over that period in the Cook Islands, which was the first place that we connected.
Unconnected Cook Islands of yesteryear is a distant memory since the always-on, fibre-like connectivity enabled by the O3B fleet was introduced in 2014. 4G network was launched, transforming the way people interact, whether it's tourism, education, healthcare, or banking. Communities in the middle of the Pacific Ocean enjoy the same services as people do in any major city. Connectivity today is the heart of opportunity on the Cook Islands.
O3B has been very, very good for my country. It has helped us to be connected with the rest of the world, given us faster broadband, faster service, and in the process, there's been a lot of benefits.
Without a reliable broadband service, this country would not be where it is today in terms of tourism.
The Cook Islands is one of the premier tourist destinations in the Pacific. We want to stay that way. 4G is what our inbound tourists expect.
We need everything we can get to compete more effectively, and that means reliable internet services. 4G will help us achieve that. It's been a huge quantum leap from well below the 100,000 mark to where we are today.
So, enormously proud of working with the Cooks and the contribution we've been able to make there. But now the question for us now is what next? What do we do now? And how do we push the envelope still further away from just delivering bandwidth and enabling what we call a cloud scale era? So integrating satellite services and satellite capabilities with cloud service providers, delivering more and more capability to our customers, delivering a service that really feels like you could be sitting in London or New York, but you're actually in the middle of the Pacific and potentially on one of the distant islands of the Pacific. So this is federating that capability really as far out into the network as possible. And that's the fundamental advantage of satellite. The fundamental advantage is we can deliver the same kind of services at the very edge of the network as historically could only be delivered right at the very center of the network. And that is a result of the innovation over the course of the last 3, 4, 5 years that we've been able to bring, and a number of other companies have been able to bring. And it's only through thinking about satellite as an extension of a terrestrial network, of delivering the kind of quality, that means low latency, that means high throughput, that means sort of always on, so a very, very high availability services. Right at the moment, there's a big cable outage in Tonga. Tonga is largely disconnected at this point, and that shows you the need for resilience. It shows you the need to integrate multiple kinds of technologies because, the more an economy becomes reliant on connectivity, as soon as that connectivity is removed, the economy takes a massive hit, and confidence in that island economy starts to reduce. So having that resilience is also a very, very important thing, but only if it can be delivered at the right kind of performance and the right kind of capability. So with that in mind, I'm going to speak quickly about 3 ideas which we try and connect in our future vision for what our network will look like and others similarly. So firstly, this is about seamless integration. It's not thinking about ourselves as a satellite network, it's thinking about ourselves as an extension of a terrestrial network in a seamless way that presents no barrier to the customer when we deliver that kind of service. The second is value chain innovation, and I'm going to give you an example of how we worked with a particular customer to deliver not just a connectivity service, but also a service that incorporated security, that was very, very responsive to the particular need that that customer had at the time. And then scalability. One of the Achilles heels of satellite has been our inability to bring the kind of scale that's needed, and that's changing, and it's changing dramatically. So let's talk about seamless integration. What does that mean? Well, it means that we have to have the same kind of expectation and the same kind of performance as a terrestrial network. And one example of this is SES was the first company to achieve Metro Ethernet Forum certification. This means that we have carrier class connectivity. And in order to achieve that, we had to go through the same tests that a terrestrial provider would do in order to prove that they could support Ethernet traffic. A very, very important and significant sort of point along our journey to say, yes, we can deliver the same kind of quality over satellite that you would expect to achieve over a terrestrial network. Partnering with cloud service providers. In this case, we've made an announcement that we're partnered with IBM. So what's the significance of that? The significance of that is now IBM can leverage the entire SES network to deliver direct link to all of their customers. And there are customers who want to get access to all of IBM's resources in the cloud. They need a high performance, state-of-the-art cloud connectivity network, and we're now able to deliver that in partnership with IBM to their customers, our customers, and our joint customers. And in a world that's going to be increasingly cloud-enabled, having that high-performance connectivity to the cloud is obviously fundamental. Working alongside standards bodies and peers, we are an open architecture network. We look to leverage similar open platforms from a networking standpoint. We don't think about ourselves as a satellite company anymore. We think about ourselves as a network company. And how do we integrate ourselves seamlessly with terrestrial standards and terrestrial bodies? So that's about integration into a global terrestrial network. And then there's this idea of value chain innovation. So again, rather than thinking about ourselves as a satellite operator, clearly we have to have the best infrastructure. Clearly, we have to have standout capabilities in space. But we also, customers more and more just want a service. In fact, they want infrastructure as a service, something which is well understood in a terrestrial network, has never been really attempted, I would say, from a space segment standpoint. And our view of that is, why not? So now we're more and more positioning what we do, rather than acquiring megahertz or a transponder for 15 years, now customers are looking for us to deliver a service. And that service has to include elements which, again, have traditionally not been part of a satellite operator's knowledge base. This includes things like analytics, so being able to sit with a customer and explain what a customer's network is being used for and how do we optimize that network for our customers. It's surprising how little even relatively sophisticated telcos and mobile operators look at network optimization in an environment where they haven't necessarily had to. But the reason for doing that now is about optimizing customer experience. And customer experience is the single thing that maintains customers on a particular network. And so if we can help our customers deliver exceptional experience by helping them with analytics, then we're providing a ton of value. And with the example I'm going to play next, this was a customer in PNG who were hosting the APEC summit here in Asia. It was a very, very big deal for Papua New Guinea, and they needed state-of-the-art connectivity to be delivered in a very, very short time frame. And not only state-of-the-art connectivity, but an incredibly secure service as well, a service that incorporated resiliency from multiple satellite solutions as well as terrestrial network. And so this is the experience that we had just at the back end of last year.
You have an enormous amount of pride having a country like Papua New Guinea, the smallest economy in APEC, actually hosting APEC.
The Prime Minister in his speech yesterday made the comment that APEC was the most important thing that's happened in PNG in the years since independence in 1975.
We had the responsibility to ensure that we were able to provide seamless connectivity to the visiting leaders, the media.
The lineup there of China, the US, the Russian Federation, Japan, You know, the major 21 nations, the theme of APEC was moving PNG into the digital world, and clearly you're not part of the digital world if you can't run reliable international telecommunications.
It was our turn to shine in the global stage.
All the feed comes through here.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. We'll be able to format it into the HD, HD-PAL, SD NTSC.
We basically needed a turnkey solution: supply, install, commission, then support through APEC, and we got all of those things from SES.
O3B SES crafted the whole package. They gave it to us as a bundle service: system security, the IP network configuration, support from SES engineers on the ground in Manassas, my team on the ground working collaboratively on a 24/7 shift right throughout the APEC week. Really delivered on promise. The rating is 100% satisfaction.
We got 100% uptime on O3B throughout the period of time the leaders were here in country. For us, that's a milestone.
Clearly, the concern of APEC was that in the middle of a very high-profile event, we were going to get cyber hacked. It was very important to us the system was protected.
There was no intrusions recorded or noted whatsoever, both within our network and from SES report on the system. Everything went smoothly.
We're seeing investment opportunities and improvements in people's lives just because it really increased internet connectivity.
SES O3B has given us a new customer confidence in the product that we offer, and that's setting a new benchmark in our operations. The reliability and low latency is the key selling feature.
It's quite a phenomenal achievement for a little country like Papua New Guinea. To be able to achieve that, I think, was terrific. That was O3B.
So one of the great benefits of connectivity is economic development. There's a proven link between broadband connection and economic development, and showcasing PNG was very, very important. This was one of, I think you heard it on the video there, the most important event that's happened in PNG since independence. And being able to prove that, I mean, so from our perspective, within a few short months, we were able to deliver 8 gigabits per second directly into the APEC summit. You had world leaders there, but also all of the surrounding infrastructure that needs to be supported. And then the security that was associated with that. So you also heard there were no intrusions. There was, there's obviously, it's a highly secure environment, and we were able to help secure this network and make sure that the event was very, very successful. And so now I'm going to talk about what's next. So exponential scalability. We've been here in the Pacific from an O3B standpoint, delivering low latency, medium Earth orbit services for 5 years. And now we're really looking at scaling that capability dramatically, scaling it ridiculously. We've taken a very, very successful idea and a very, very successful constellation, and we're adding orders of magnitude of capability. And what that will allow us to do, I mean, an example of this is every single O3B satellite has 10 beams. Every single O3B Empower satellite will have 4,000. And those 4,000 beams will now enable us to bring the same kind of state-of-the-art connectivity that we deliver into Rarotonga in the capital city of the Cook Islands, or into Honiara, now to every single island and every single community in the Pacific, and that is game-changing. It's genuinely game-changing, and we can do it at economics that makes sense. And not just here in the Pacific. Obviously, this applies to every city, town, village, and country in the world. And that's very, very exciting, because scaling a satellite network has always been a bit of an Achilles heel. And we feel like, with the experience we've gained with O3B, we can now bring this cloud scale connectivity not only here to the Pacific economically, but everywhere across the world. And so it'll be the world's first terabit satellite capability. We have the ability to scale. We can keep launching satellites into this network, and the net effect that will have is bring more and more capability and also lower and lower costs. Something, again, that if we're trying to bring more and more people, connect more and more people to the internet, having the ability to do it economically is really super important. And this system will allow us to do that.
5G networks, mobile edge computing, the Internet of Things. As global demand for cloud-scale connectivity is set to skyrocket, SES is leading the industry with new capabilities. Today, SES operates the O3B constellation, the world's only medium Earth orbit or MEO system. delivering high-speed connectivity from space with performance that matches terrestrial fiber networks. Our next-generation MEO system, O3b mPOWER, is bringing exponential scale to the proven O3b model. With 7 new MEO satellites, each with more than 5,000 dynamically shapeable beams, O3b mPOWER will be a flexible virtual fiber network, empowering more people, communities, and businesses with truly global cloud-scale connectivity. As the first terabit scalable system in the world, O3b mPOWER is the most powerful satellite-based communication system ever. Together with its more than 50 geostationary satellites, SES is empowering a world of users and applications with the right connectivity solutions right where they're needed.
So this system will no longer be completely hub-based, and so we can create mesh networks, we can create connectivity networks between capital cities and outer islands. The flexibility that this system will bring will be genuinely game-changing. We'll start launching in late 2020 or early 21. We'll be in service in 21, which really, you know, here we are in 2019. It really feels like we're on the cusp of something very dramatic in terms of scale and capability. And of course, we intend to integrate this with all of our other capabilities. So our vision is a fully integrated network at geostationary and at medium Earth orbit with an intelligent ground network that allows our customers to be completely oblivious as to where traffic is being delivered to them. If we understand what's going on in our customers' network, we can deliver services to them over multiple different infrastructure, with the focus really being on customer experience rather than the focus being on what infrastructure is being used. And this is kind of the last idea, this is the last slide, which is back to the idea of satellite being an enabler and being part of a broader network, whether our satellites are in geostationary, in medium Earth orbit, or indeed if the LEOs ever develop, and again, remains to be seen, but to the extent that they do, it's really super important that the discussion is not so much about orbit and infrastructure and satellite or terrestrial, but how do we deliver exceptional service to our customers? How do we integrate these capabilities and connect more and more people on the planet and take the Asia Pacific from 47% of the population connected to 100% of the population connected? And with O3b mPOWER and the capabilities that we can bring, I think we can make a meaningful start and a meaningful contribution to doing that. So with that, thank you very much for your time. I think we're probably at the end of the session. No time for questions, but thank you very much for being here and enjoy the rest of your time here at PTC.